Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hari Om.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। गीता ध्यानम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भगवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रा येन त्वया भारतकल्यपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवैत्रेकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सस्तुतिर्वेदा दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणदटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरननदी कैवर्तककेशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजमलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाज्ञानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाभूषितम्। लोके सज्जनषट्परैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारतपङ्कजं कलिमला प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Devaya Tasmai Namaha.
Hari Om. So Bhagavan provides vital, very important, and at the same time, simple tips on how to do meditation. Instead of just asking us to meditate, go, sit down, meditate, he gives us an entire manual. So just to go over the salient features of what Bhagavan has taught us till now, find a place that is in solitude and is clean. Otherwise, clean it up yourself. A seat which is the person's own, his own or her own, the one who is going to meditate. Firm, not too high, not too low, well insulated, soft and dry. Mind that is free from wishes and wants, free from the sense of possessions and possibilities. Actions of the body, the mind and the intellect controlled. The body, the head and the neck erect and still, seemingly gazing at the tip of one's nose, without looking around, both inwardly and outwardly. Having the mind single-pointed, chitta ekagratha, for the purification of the self. Having that as an aim. Serene-minded, fearless, with self-discipline, mind under control, mind absorbed in me, in Bhagavan, and with me as the supreme goal, with Bhagavan as the supreme goal. This is what Bhagavan has told us. And then Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about what is a conducive lifestyle and the aspects that govern a conducive lifestyle, like eating, sleep, recreation, exertion, actions that are taken with a goal in mind, and so on. Now there is only one thing that is left, that is to meditate. And to understand this in the right manner, we also saw the states of mind, and that there are 5 states of mind. Kshipta, which means a scattered, agitated mind, the state of Rajas. Moodha, which is a dull, indolent, drowsy, lethargic mind, which is a state of Tamas. Vikshipta, other than Kshipta, Kshiptat Vishishtate, calm mind, on the way to becoming single-pointed, temporarily focused, tending towards concentration but not fully concentrated as yet. In these 3 states, meditation is not happening. The 4th state was Ekagraha, single-pointed, focused, having only one thought. The process of bringing the mind to the state of Ekagraha is called Nididhyasana. And the state of Ekagraha itself is called Savikalpa Samadhi or Samprajnata Samadhi, awareness of a single thought. And what is that thought? Mat Chitta, Mat Praha. There are various ways to be Mat Chitta and Mat Praha. Different people follow different ways. We will not get into that in detail. When one thought, one single thought is pursued to the exclusion of all other thoughts, then there is single-pointedness, Chitta Ekagrata. It is said that Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha. Sajatiya means same, Vritti is thought, Pravaha is flow. The same thought which is flowing through repeatedly is Chitta Ekagrata. Being in the state for a duration of time, the mind then, what happens? It progresses on its own to the 5th stage, which is the state of Niruddha, where the mind is by itself, cessation of all thoughts. And this is the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Asamprajnata Samadhi. In this state, that single thought also ends. Many thoughts to single thought to no thought. This is very similar to going to sleep. And we are all familiar with that. We have, like Bhagavan has listed out a process manual for meditation. We have a process manual for falling to sleep. Lighting in the room should be just perfect. Otherwise, the curtain should be drawn, or maybe somebody needs a small night lamp, or maybe a brighter lamp. Different people have different manuals. Right temperature, neither too cold nor too warm. One of the biggest fights between couples is the AC is too cold, AC is too warm, or switch on the fan, switch off the fan. The bed in the right manner, how hard it is, how soft it is, the right, just right it should be. Pillow in position, thick pillow, thin pillow in the right spot, how thick the blanket should be, and the blanket in the exact place. Some people prefer it over the chest, some people in the neck, some people in the nose, and some people fully covered, head covered. So all of this, right position, we tuck ourselves in beautifully, comfortably, nice and comfy. And then what happens? The mind starts to race, starts to think. Tomorrow I have to do this. Oh, I have to make so and so call. Today this meeting was so good, no, in office, it all went so well. Or, my God, there's so much pressure. How am I going to get my job done? So the mind starts to race. And the mind keeps telling you, go to sleep. Had a good meeting in office? Okay, quiet, go to sleep. Have to achieve so many things tomorrow. Okay, just stay calm, let it be. We'll figure it out tomorrow, go to sleep. I just want to sleep. I want to sleep. I want to sleep. I want to sleep. Sleep. Slept. So from the office to the home to the various infinite things, to sleep, to sleep, to sleep, slept. Multiple thoughts to single thought to no thought. We stop all other thoughts, focusing on that single thought. Sleep. And then switch off for at least 4, 5, 6 hours. Hopefully 7 hours. So let's just look at these two. Sleep on the one side and samadhi on the other side. The single thought in sleeping is sleep or go to sleep. The single thought in samadhi is mat chitta mat para. Om Namo Narayana, Shiva, whatever the individual wants. Hare Krishna. In sleep, there is overpowering tamas. When the body is tired, then the sleep overpowers you. Even if you want to stay awake, not possible. You will just sit down, not. Even in the middle of a class or bright morning, whatever it may be. So overpowering tamas. In samadhi, there is all-powerful sattva, where you are thinking about the Lord, about Bhagavan. In sleep, the thought is merged into the causal body. Whereas in samadhi, the thought simply ceases. Just not there, niruddha, simply ceases, cessation. In sleep, the mind goes to mudha state, tamasic state. In samadhi, the mind goes to niruddha avastha, sattvic state. In sleep, the thoughts are dormant, like a dormant volcano. As soon as the sleep is gone, you are waken up, the thoughts come flooding into the mind, like a erupting volcano. They're all in dormant state, merged into the causal body, waiting to get out. In samadhi, the mind has been emptied out of thoughts. Thoughts during sleep is like solidification of water in the process of freezing. Thoughts during samadhi is like evaporation of water in the process of heating. In freezing, water is there in some form and it can come back to its original form. In evaporation, the water is gone. A mind that has emptied itself of thoughts, that is the mind that is in its original state of consciousness. That is often called objectless awareness. The mind is still aware, but there are no object. We saw this earlier also. Thought is equal to what? Thought is equal to object plus consciousness, which implies that consciousness is thought minus object. You remove an object from the mind is equal to consciousness. If I put an object into your mind now, my favorite example, camel, which was even today, even though last time I used the same word, it was not there, but I say it, and that image of the camel, the thought of the camel, and the associated thought, the desert, all kinds of thoughts get into the mind. The flow of thought is mind. And a mind that is free of thoughts is self-aware. Sri Ramana Maharishi used to sing, Drishyavaritam chittamatmanaha chittadarshanam tattva-darshanam. Sri Ramana Maharishi. When drishya is removed, then one has the darshana of the chitta, which is consciousness. And that consciousness, that chitta is reality, is the truth, is the tattva. Drishya varitam chittam atmanaha. Remove the drishya, varitam. Then one has the darshana of the atman, the pure self, the pure consciousness. And that is the darshanam of the chitta, the tattva, the reality, tattva darshanam. Bhagavan now explains the state of nirvikalpa samadhi or asamprajnata samadhi. That is nothing but the niruddha bhumi, the thoughtless state of the mind, the niruddha bhumi of the mind. We'll go to verse 18.
Yada viniyatam chittam
Yada viniyatam chittam
atmanyeva vatishtate
atmanyeva vatishtate
nisprah sarvakamebhyah
nisprihas sarvakamebhyah
yukta ityuchyate tada.
yukta ityuchyate tada.
Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva vatishtate nisprah sarvakamebhyah yukta ityuchyate tada.
Yada means when. When chittam, the mind, viniyatam, has become totally withdrawn, meaning perfectly controlled, free of attachment to objects. And when this happens, then what happens? Atman yeva vatishtate. The mind remains avatishtate, only in the self. The mind remains, avatishtate means the mind remains, eva, only, atmani, in the self. Totally withdrawn. Because even a very small disturbance, even that single thought, remember we talked about sleep just now. You're trying to sleep, go to sleep, it's okay. Tomorrow work, office, meeting. No, go to sleep. Even that single small thought, distraction, anything that becomes an object in your mind, that mind will not allow you to get to that state. It will not permit you to get to that state. And Bhagavan says, where does this distraction come from? Sarva kama, all wants and desires. And therefore, Bhagavan says, nispriha sarva kamebhyo, or nispriha sarva kamebhyah, free from all attachments, free from all desires. And then, tada, ityuchyate, one is said to be, uchyate, said to be. What? A yukta. Bhagavan keeps talking about yukta. How do you go from a Aruruha, the person who wishes to attain, to a Yogaruda, to a Yogi, to a Yukta? This is the state when one is called to be a Yukta, harmonized. Asampragyata Samadhi is possible only through supreme dispassion. Paravairagya, it is termed. From Sampragyata Samadhi comes clarity, clarity of thought. And that clarity of thought leads to a higher level of dispassion, Vairagya. That higher level of Vairagya is Paravairagya. That higher dispassion pushes the yogi automatically to Asampragyata Samadhi. So, what are we saying here? There is effort required only to reach to Savikalpa Samadhi or Sampragyata Samadhi. Till then, you put in effort. Uske baad aaram karo. Apne aap jao by on its own. This reminds me of, this route march as part of the commando training in the Indian Army. They used to keep saying it's all in your mind. Now this route march, and you're going to bear with me, I have to tell you the story. This route march can be anywhere from 60 kilometers to 100 kilometers. The final one, the last route march, it is practically the final event in the training of a commando in the Indian Army. That is a 100-kilometer endurance run. The total weight that a commando is carrying is between 17 to 18 kilograms. Sometimes if there is punishment or if the commando needs to be tested more, it could be more. It could be 20, 22 kgs also. It depends. Now, by the time the commando has got to the state of the 100-kilometer endurance run, by that state, you are extremely fit, absolutely fit, in the prime peak pinnacle of your physical fitness. So honestly, 100 kilometers is not too much of a big deal, though it is a task carrying the weight and all that. Remember, 100 kilometers is 2x plus of a marathon run. A marathon is approximately 44. So about 12 kilometers more than 2 marathons at the same time, continuously. So even that is okay for a commando, because that is the fine. By then, you are absolutely fit, pinnacle of fitness, right? Extremely fit. So that is really not the issue. So what do they do to test this commando? They make the 100-kilometer endurance run 5 loops of 20 kilometers. So what are they trying to do? They are trying to test your mind, not just your body, because they already know that your body is fit. And I'll tell you why. It will come to that a little bit. So the first 10K is a breeze. Then the weight starts to bother you, it's like kind of becoming uncomfortable. After some time, the straps of the pack, they start cutting into your skin. In those days, these padded backpacks were not there. Now at least there are some padded backpacks, but mind you, even the padded backpack starts cutting in. Around 40 kilometers, which is the distance of a marathon, you kind of feel along, you don't know whether it's the dampness of the sweat or it's the dampness of blood oozing out of the cut. Because when you take out the strap later, you'll find these cuts are fairly deep. That's happened in the 60K also, by the way. Then the blisters begin to burst on your feet, on your toes. And around that time, you know what happens? You complete that loop, 40-kilometer loop, and you are in the starting point. What do you think the mind tells you? Stop. Enough is enough. Who wants to become a commando? You are at the starting point, just where you started. So the mind tells you, bahut ho gaya, stop. You just want to stop there and collapse. That's all. This is where the effort, remember we said effort is only till Nirvikalpa Samadhi. After that, nothing. This is where the effort gets to a next level. From a physical level of effort, it goes to the mental level of efforts. From many thoughts to a single thought. Up until this point, your colleagues are there with you. Okay, your instructor is standing there by the roadside. The inspector who is seeing that you're doing it the right way, they are also there spread out. Like in a marathon, there'll be inspectors. All of them are not only just standing and watching you, they are all, and the colleagues are running with you, they are also egging you on. They are giving you that encouragement. Up until that physical effort point, all this encouragement works miracles. It helps you to keep going. But after this point, all that is useless. Everything is useless. After that point, one needs to get inward. One needs to start that process of multiple thoughts to single thought. And if you don't do that, you're forced to go within. If you don't go within, and if you don't force yourself to go within, you'll probably drop off. A lot of people drop off, even in marathons, a lot of people will not complete. That happens when the mind does not take over, when you're still in your physical being. The mind has to take over if you have to complete. There's no other choice. Shoulder cut, don't think, keep running, keep going. Ankle pain, come on, yaar, forget it, keep going. Blisters, keep going. This rifle is getting so uncomfortable, can I just drop it? Just keep going. Water, can I have some water? Just go. And after some time, go, just go, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep that. The single thought that remains is keep going. And then suddenly it happens. What happens? Somewhere, sometime, without realizing it, that moment, it just happens. I used to relate this moment to this jet aircrafts, if you have seen, they break the sound barrier. And it is said that when they break the sound barrier, there is, absolute no sound. That is where the sound barrier gets broken. There is absolute silence, eerie silence. So I used to link or relate this spot of time, this moment, to that aircraft breaking that sound barrier. Now, after reading and learning Bhagavad Gita, I relate it to moving from Savikalpa Samadhi to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Single thought to no thought. The Niruddha state of the mind. For the remaining 40 kilometers or maybe 30 kilometers, the mind is completely empty. Completely. And mind you, I'm talking about 30 to 40 kilometers with a pack of 18-20 kgs. 40 kilometers, which is like a marathon, takes a long time. 5 hours, 6 hours. For that entire time, the mind is completely empty. Empty to the extent that I don't realize that it's empty. I realize it only after. You don't even know that your mind is empty. And you are going. There is effort that is happening. There is activity that is happening. Let me correct myself. There is no effort. There is no effort. It's like floating. You don't feel your feet on the ground. You don't feel the rifle. You don't feel the cart. You don't feel the pack. You don't feel the weight. You don't feel anything. You don't feel the blisters. Nothing. You're floating. Zero thought. Totally, completely withdrawn. Yada viniyatam chittam atman yeva vatishtate. That's what Bhagavan says. There was a reason why I gave this example, and it is a real example. Trust me, even some people who run marathon will be familiar with this. But I just talked about an extremity even in that. So a lot of people, they do not trust, they do not believe, they do not, or they are rather dismissive of the state of Savikalpa Samadhi, leave alone Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Even Savya, how can I have one thought? Not possible. It is possible, just that it takes that kind of effort to get there. And once you put in that effort to get there, then the process of going into Nirvikalpa Samadhi happens on its own. You just have to be there. You get to the state of being in that single thought, nothing else, only that one thought. Nirvikalpa Samadhi comes. So this is something that we must all try Because getting in touch with that inner self, that there is nothing else that can be a better tour, a better vacation, a better journey than getting in touch with that inner self. That is the best journey that you can ever have. So in some way or the other, dynamic meditation, static meditation, transcendental meditation, whatever you choose, please try this. If you want to do 100-kilometer endurance run, do that. But get in touch with that inner self. Nothing is better than that. And explaining the state of Niruddha Avastha, Bhagavan says, we'll go to verse 19.
Yatha deepo nivatastah
Yatha deepo nivatastah
nengati sopamasmrita
ningate sopamasmrita
yogino yata chittasya
yogino yata chittasya
yunjato yogamatmanaha
yunjato yogamatmanaha
yatha deepo nivatastah nengati sopamasmrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha.
Sopamasmrita. This is used as an example, Bhagavan says. I'll relate a simile to you. Let me give you an analogy. That's what Bhagavan says. Sopamasmrita. And what is this simile? Deepaha, which is a lamp. Nivatastaha, which is a lamp which is kept in a spot or in a place with no breeze. Nengate, does not flicker, not flickering. Like a lamp that is kept in a place without any breeze does not flicker. Such a lamp is just like a lamp in a picture. You know, if you have a painting with a lamp, that does not flicker. This lamp, which is in a place without breeze, is exactly like that painting. And yet, it is lighting up. It is giving prakasha, effulgent, without flicker. Nachala, Nischala. Remember, we talked about Nischala earlier. Similarly, just like that, a yogi's mind that has come to the Niruddha Avastha is like this lamp. Nachala, Nischala. Motionless, changeless presence. And Bhagavan says, Yogino or Yoginaha of the yogi, Yata Chittasya, who is in this state of mind. Yunjate yogamatmanaha. Yunjate is also absorbed in harmony. With what? Doing the yoga of the self. This yoga of meditation. For that yogi. Now, Bhagavan has brought out an extremely important aspect of meditation in this verse. Earlier, if you remember, Bhagavan described the process of sitting down. And we have gone through the various steps. You know, beautiful manual that Bhagavan has explained step by step by step. And then controlling the flow of numerous thoughts, bringing it to a single thought, and then becoming thoughtless. Thereby revealing or experiencing the true self. Here, Bhagavan says that a yogi is like that lamp in a windless place. Such a yogi is continuing to do his work, just like the lamp is continuing to give prakasha. The lamp is not switched off, it's lighting, it's beautiful, it's effulgent. And because of it, if it's effulgence, there is light surrounding the lamp. Similarly, the yogi is doing whatever work the yogi is supposed to do. But because the yogi is doing this nengate, without flicker, and is in harmony, absorbed, yunjato, because of that, he is able to do everything, whatever he is doing, like a meditation. So Bhagavan is actually saying that there are two forms of meditation. One meditation is where you sit down in the process of meditation and absorb into that multiple thought, single thought, thoughtless. The other is how you can lead life as a meditation. This leading life as a meditation eventually feeds into the practice of meditation. Remember, practice of meditation is vital, is very, very important. But if we are able to perform what we are doing as meditation, that practice of meditation, when you put in that effort to go into Savikalpa Samadhi, that will be easier. Just like the lamp, which is only lighting and not doing anything else, performing an activity completely focused on it alone helps us do that activity as meditation. In the next 4 verses, this Nirvikalpa Avastha or state is explained in detail by Bhagavan. So we will now recite all 4 verses together, verse 20 to 23.
Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhigrahyamatīndriyam pīti yatra na chaivāyam sthitaschalati tattvataha yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sanhitam sanishchayena yuktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa.
Yoga Sanjitam, Yoga Sanhitam. The 4th verse which we just recited, first line, last 2 words. Yoga Sanjitam is called by the name of yoga. What is called by the name of yoga? That we will see one by one. So Bhagavan in these 3 verses is telling us what is called by the name yoga. Please listen carefully. Beautifully he explains. Okay, and what do we refer to as yoga here? Is it Karma Yoga? For the longest period of time when Bhagavan said yoga, it means Karma Yoga. Here when Bhagavan says yoga, it means Atma Samyama Yoga. The yoga of meditation, Dhyana Yoga. So what is known by the name of yoga? Let's see. Let's recite verse 20 again.
Yatro paramate chittam
Yatro paramate chittam
niruddham yoga sevaya
niruddham yoga sevaya
yatra chaivatmanatmanam
yatra chaivatmanatmanam
pashyannatmani tushyati
pashyannatmani tushyati
yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati.
Yatra means wherein. Wherein? In the state of mind. In the what state of mind? In that state of mind. Which state of mind? Is Bhagavan talking about the Kshipta state of mind? The Muda state of mind? The Vikshipta state of mind? No. Is he talking about the Ekagra state of mind? No. The mind has gone beyond. Bhagavan here is referring to the Niruddha state of mind. In that Niruddha state of mind, Bhagavan says, Yoga Sevaya, by the practice of yoga, by the practice of Savikalpa Samadhi, by putting in that effort, Chittam Niruddham, the mind withdraws from the world of objects. The mind becomes thoughtless. The mind gets into the Niruddha state. And Uparamati, attains quietude. And wherein, yatra, then Bhagavan says, Atmana Pashyan Atmanam. Atmani Tushyati. Atmana, through the mind. Pashyan, seeing. Atmanam, the self. Atmani, in the self. Tushyati, it remains fulfilled. through the mind, using the mind, seeing the self, in the self, it gets fulfilled or remains fulfilled, complete, satisfied. This is called by the name of yoga. So that phrase has to be linked to each of these verses. Yoga Sanyitam. This is called the state of using the mind to see the self in the self is called yoga. Quietude of the mind and experience of the satisfaction in the self are concomitant. Self-knowledge and self-satisfaction are interrelated. Continuing, Bhagavan says in verse 21,
Sukhamatyantikam yattad
Sukhamatyantikam yattad
buddhigrahyamatīndriyam
buddhigrahyamatīndriyam
veti yatra na chaivayam
veti yatra na chaivayam
stitaschalati tattvataha.
stitaschalati tattvataha.
Sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhigrahyamatīndriyam veti yatra na chaivayam stitaschalati tattvataha.
Yattad, yat, which, tad, that mind which is in the state of Niruddha Avastha. That awareness itself, Bhagavan says, is Sukham Atyantikam. That awareness, that being in that state itself is the infinite bliss. Paramanandam. Sukham Atyantikam. Atyantikam means without any limit, limitless. Sukham is bliss, limitless bliss. It comes through the dissolution of thoughts in the mind. And thus, because it comes through the dissolution of thoughts, it is buddhi grahyam. Grahyam means to grasp, hold on. Holding on or grasped by reason. Here, buddhi refers to the reason. This person is able to understand, is able to intuitively get it, is able to grasp the reason behind this. And at the same time, it is atindriyam. Look at the beauty. You can grasp the reason, but it is atindriyam, meaning it transcends the senses. The five senses are below this. Not something that can be experienced through the sense organs. But the intellect, the buddhi, the mind intellect, that grasps it. In the route march, the senses are sending lots of signals. But the soldier who has dissolved his thoughts and experiences that resulting bliss, his inner intellect grasps it. But the outer senses are not touched by it. That is why you don't feel the pain. For 40 kilometers, you feel nothing. Because the outer senses are not touched by it. This yogi who has become a yukta, meaning this person who has put in that effort and thereby has become harmonized. Yogi puts in effort. The yukta is harmonized. Harmonized with what? The inner self, the pure consciousness. And having attained Savikalpa Samadhi, using her buddhi, and the same buddhi disappears, dissolves, loses itself, and takes her to Nirvikalpa Samadhi on its own. So the person uses the buddhi to get to that single thought, and then the same buddhi automatically dissolves to take the person to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Thus, this chitta or mind itself becomes chit or reality. Emptied of all thoughts, not connecting to objects. And how is this mind emptied of all thoughts, not connecting to objects? It remains as pure consciousness. The mind transmutes itself into consciousness. Chitta to chit. And when this happens, Bhagavan says, Yatra sthitaha, established in that, established wherein I am this person, the yogi, the yukta, naiva chalati tatvataha, does not move away from the truth, from the reality, from his true nature. Swami Advayananda ji, who is my guru, he says, the era of error is over forever. It's beautiful. The era of error, because we are leading life through error after error after error after error. That is how we are in the samsara. The era of error is over forever. This, Bhagavan says, is called by the name of yoga, Yoga Sangitam. And then he continues in verse 22.
Yam labdva cha param labham
Yam labdva cha param labham
manyate nadikam tataha
manyate nadikam tataha
yasmin sthito na dukkhena
yasmin sthito na dukkhena
gurunapi vichalyate.
gurunapi vichalyate.
Yam labdva cha param labham manyate nadikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate.
Yam labdva, which having attained. What attained? Reaching the state of niruddha, having experienced the pure consciousness. Manyate believes, this person thinks. Manyate believes. Na aparam, there is no other labham gain. There is nothing else, no other gain, which is adhikam tataha, which is greater than this. After attaining the state and experiencing that bliss, that supreme bliss, that Paramananda, believes that there is nothing else that is further to gain. Nothing more left to do. No more wishes, no more wants, no more plans. The person is fulfilled. Yam sthitaha, established in this state of fulfillment, of absolute completeness, gurunapi, the heaviest of, gurunapi dukkhena, the heaviest of sorrow, na vichalyate, this person is not shaken. Established in the state of supreme bliss, even the heaviest of sorrow does not shake. What is Bhagavan saying? This person faces the extremities, sukha, dukkha, and all the other extremities that we saw earlier. So this person can face. It's not as if this person is insulated and, in some cave. No. The person can face the extremities, but is not shaken. Na vichalyate. A guru, look at another simile that Bhagavan has used here. Guru. And linked it to sorrow. Guru is person who has the weight of knowledge. And Bhagavan uses this analogy to refer to the heaviest of sorrows. It is not as if the yukta does not face calamities, but remains unshaken. Remember, earlier we've talked about the story of Sri Ramana Maharishi going through a surgery to remove a tumor, cancerous tumor. And Swamiji says, please don't administer anesthesia to me. I want to be aware of what's happening, the procedure. And then later on, the doctor recalls that I've been operating the saint and I forgot about it. The surgeon also is deep into his work, right? Savikalpa state. So the surgeon is also focused. Chitta ekagrata. Suddenly he looks at Swamiji's face and he says, to me it appeared as if this person I'm performing surgery and that face are two separate individuals. Swami Ramana Maharishi. So most of these saints, you will find this, you will find that they are able to gurunapi dukkhena, or the other extreme also, gurunapi sukhena, whatever it may be. It goes through them, they experience it, but they remain unshaken. The increased degree of clarity that emerges from nididhyasana And then Savikalpa Samadhi is called Shakshatkara or direct experience. This Shakshatkara leads to Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Tattva, the reality, the knowledge of reality, Tattva Jnana. The Yukta does not move away from this Tattva, holds on to that position of knowledge. And the world continues to revolve, to go on as an appearance, as Maya. When you say Maya appearance, this is what it means. The samsara is going on, but this person established in that reality, this yukta, continues to be even more firmly established. Experiences everything, but remains unaffected. There's a beautiful story by this person named Viktor Frankl. You must look him up if you have not heard about him already. An Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, philosopher, and a Holocaust survivor. He is the founder of what is called logotherapy, a school of psychotherapy which describes the search of meaning in life as the central human motivational force. He talks about, I would recommend this book called Man's Search for Meaning. That's written by Viktor Frankl. So there he talks about all of this. And when he explains about how he survived Holocaust, very few people survived. He says that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Thus, quote unquote, so he said that, quote, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves, unquote. So basically, there are two kinds of life journey. One, the outer journey, and one, the inner journey. Remember earlier I talked about as much as you launch a probe called Chandrayaan into the moon, you have to launch a probe into the self, into within. That probe within is the inner journey. These two journeys are contrary. A person who runs outward keeps accumulating things that he has to drop. Someday or the other, you have to drop. There's no choice. The person who runs inward attains that which is eternal, which he never has to drop. Somebody told me you use this word she a lot, you know, when referring to good things, and he when referring in the satsang. Okay, someone told me that. So I must relate to you this recent talk that we heard by, by Manoj Kumar, who is the CEO, founding CEO of this NGO called Nandi. So they use our software MindSpark to help girl children learn. So he told us, hey, I don't want to deflate your balloon, but MindSpark is nothing but a tool for me. My goal or my aim in life is to remove patriarchy. And he talked a lot about, this deep, deep-rooted patriarchy in our culture. So MindSpark is a tool to help girl children, we call them Nanhi Kalis. The Nanhi Kalis learn in such a manner that patriarchy over a period of time gets eroded. So I didn't think of all of that, but I just want to see traditionally, there has been like, women, girls cannot learn this, they cannot do that, Shastra cannot do this. My mother is a PhD in Vaishnavism, she did it at the age of 65 or 66. So everyone has the right to learn, all human beings. So yes, so the person who runs inward, she attains what is eternal and does not have to drop it. And then Bhagavan continues.
Tam vidya dukkha samyoga.
Tam vidya dukkha samyoga.
Viyogam yoga sanyitam.
Viyogam yoga sanhitam.
Sanishchayena yoktavyaha.
Sanishchayena yoktavyaha.
Yogo nirvinna chetasa.
Yogo nirvinna chetasa.
Tam vidya dukkha samyoga. Viyogam yoga sanyitam. सनिश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्विण्णचेतसा.
Yoga sanyitam, sanyitam, sanjitam, but not sanhitam. Okay. I said that, not Sarika said it perfectly right. Tam vidya, that, tam vidya, know as. And what is that? What Bhagavan has described from verses 20 to 22, where we kept repeating Yoga Sanhitam. So what did he say in verse 20? He said, through the mind, seeing the self in the self remains absolutely fulfilled. Then in verse 21, he said, established in that infinite bliss is grasped by reason and transcending the senses does not move away from that reality. And in verse 22, he said, having experienced this pure consciousness, the supreme bliss, believes that nothing is greater. And because of that is unmoved, unshaken by the heaviest of sorrow. Yoga Sannitam, called by the name of yoga. This is called by the name of yoga. And Bhagavan says, Dukkha Samyoga Viyogam. Beautiful usage here. Samyoga Viyoga. The state of severance from the union. Severing from the union. We lead life united with dukkha. Because even sukha is type of dukkha only. Because when the sukha goes away, you feel dukkha. Or it's an attachment. Look at it whichever way you want. The state of severance from that union with pain. Viyoga, severance. Opposite of samyoga or union. Dukkha samyoga viyoga. So in life, we are often faced with unwanted circumstances. A thwarted goal which doesn't, want something, attaining, working towards very hard does not happen. An insult, injury, death of a near one, relative, loved one. And there are also wanted circumstances in equal measure. Success, accolades, birth of a loved one. And during the course of life, all these go away. They are all temporary. Wanted, unwanted, whatever it may be. Even ourselves, by the way, everything about us has changed. I'm not talking about finally going away. That also happens. But what I used to be is no longer me. In terms of physical appearance, this hair is, long, thick, curly hair. All that is gone. If you see some of my old photographs. Right? But like we spoke about earlier, when I look at myself in the mirror, or when I look into myself inside, it's the same person. I relate to that same Srini, same self, that one self. This yoga disunites Viyoga with the temporary and unites yoga with the reality. And Bhagavan says, Sa yogaha, this yoga, yoktavyaha. Yoktavyaha means should be practiced. Nishchayena, with determination. Anirvinna chetasa, and with a mind that is steady and undespairing. Because it's a hard path. Putting that effort till Savikalpa Samadhi is difficult. So, with determination and with a mind that is steady and undespairing. Now, Bhagavan has told us what meditation is. He has told us how to go about it in steps in a detailed manual that we talked about, process manual. In the next 3 verses, he will give us a few subtle techniques. We will go through them one by one. Verse 24.
Sankalpa prabhavan kamam
Sankalpa prabhavan kama
त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः
त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः
मनसेवेन्द्रियग्रामं
मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं
विनियम्य समन्ततः
विनियम्य समन्ततः
सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामां त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः.
Sankalpa, we have seen this earlier. Samyak iti kalpana, imaginations. Somehow we have imagined that there is happiness in the samsara. And because of this imagination, we keep checking for that happiness. Hey, where is it? We keep looking for it. We keep searching for it in the outer world. Kama, desires, prabhavan, desires that have sprouted from what? Sankalpa. So Bhagavan says, Kama, prabhavan, sankalpa. Sankalpa, prabhavan, kama. Desires that have sprouted from this imagination. And what does he say about that? He says, Tyatva, abandon, give them up. And he says, Sarvan, all of them. And he says, Ashesataha. Ashesataha is without remorse, without reserve, without any thought, without any reservation. Give up all of these desires which are born out of sankalpa, imagination, give them up without reservation. And he says, Viniyamya, restrain completely. Indriya Gramam, the assemblage, the collection of senses. Gramam is what? A collection of people. Indriya Gramam is a collection of senses. How do you do that? Manasa, by the mind. And Bhagavan says, do it with perfection. Samantataha. Samantataha means do it with perfection. In this way, first dropping the imagination, sankalpa, and then dropping the kama, which are born out of this sankalpa, with the mind restrained and controlling the entire assemblage, collection of senses. What do you do after that? He continues.
Shanai Shanairuparamid
Shanai Shanai Uparamed
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya
Atma Samstam Mana Kritva
Atma Samstam Mana Kritva
Nakinchidapi Chintayet
Kinchidapi Chintayet
Shanai Shanairuparamid Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstam Mana Kritva Nakinchidapi Chintayet.
Shanai Shanaihi. Shanai Shanaihi means slowly and steadily, little by little, one step at a time. What do you do one step at a time? By understanding Buddhaya, Dhriti Grihitaya. That buddhi which is stimulated, spurred by determination. Dhriti, determination. Grihitaya, spurred, stimulated. Uparamed, attain quietude. Attain that nirvikalpa samadhi. Step by step, take one step at a time. Ek step at a time. What is that? Step number one, control the senses. The senses will want to express. They'll want to say something in a certain manner. Do not allow that expression. Step number two, hold the expression as a thought. Be aware that this is how I want to express. Hold it as a thought. Step number three, grasp the reason in the mind. Step number four, expel the thought from the mind. Sever the union. Step number five, experience the bliss once you expelled that. What that senses so much wanted to express, once you expel it, there is a bliss. Step number 6, know that nothing is greater. Step number 7, be established. Attain quietude. So Bhagavan says, take it step by step. And then he says, Kritva Manaha, having made the mind, what? Atma Samsthanam, established in the self. Na chintayet, do not think. Do not think what? Nothing. Even a little bit. Api kinchid. Even little bit do not think. And he continues.
Yato yato nischarati.
Yato yato nischarati.
Manaschanchalamasstiram.
Manaschanchalamasstiram.
Tatastato niyam yaitad.
Tatastatho niyam yaitad.
Atmanyeva vasham nayet.
Atmanyeva vasham nayet.
Yato yato nischarati. Manaschanchalamasstiram. Tatastato niyam yaitad. Atmanyeva vasham nayet.
Yato yato, whatever be the reason, whatever it may be, chanchalam, this restless, asthiram, this unsteady manas mind, nischarati, wanders away. This restless, unsteady mind, for whatever reason it may wander away, Bhagavan says, niyam yaitad, withdraw. Withdraw from what? Tatastato. From each one of them. Tataha tataha. Each of those, whatever they may be, infinite reasons, from each one of them, one by one, withdraw. And then he says, Nayet, which means bring it, Vashaha, under the control of what? Atmanyeva, of the self alone. Atmanyeva, of the self alone. Whatever be the reason that makes the mind wander, that makes the mind think. So while Bhagavan asks us to experience the bliss earlier, now he says withdraw from everything, each and everything, including that bliss. So he's taking you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So earlier he said experience that bliss. Paramananda. Experience it. Be established in it. Now he is saying, withdraw from it. Not even the bliss. Anything that can make your thought, make your mind wander. So for example, in that route march, if the mind experiences the state of Niruddha and thinks, yeah, I'm thoughtless, then what happened? The next thought will be, oh my God, there's pain. Or the thought will be, how long do I have to go? So even a meditator, even a yogi, even a yukta sitting there will think, so how long is left? So Bhagavan says, withdraw even from that bliss. Withdraw from everything. Whatever it may be. Bhagavan says, do not experience anything. Just be the pure consciousness. Bring the mind into the self. These subtle techniques and tips are given by Bhagavan to fine-tune the process of meditation. You're already in that Niruddha state. Now it is even deeper fine-tuning, where even the bliss you let go of. And what is the result of all this? What is the result of meditation? What is the result of Nirvikalpa Samadhi? That we shall see in the next satsang. Hari Om. We'll finish with... we'll recite the verses, then we'll do the Purnamada.
Yes. So verses 18 to 26. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva vatishtati nisprah sarvakamibhyah yukta ityuchyate tada yatha deepo nivatasto Nengate sopamasmrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यत्र चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन्नात्मनि तुष्यति सुखमात्यान्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यमतीन्द्रियं वेति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्या दुःखसंयोग वियोगं योगसंज्ञितं स निश्चयेन योक्तव्यः योगो निर्विण्णचेतसा सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामां त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः शनैः शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्तम्भन कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत् यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतद् आत्मन्येवावशं नयेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमया ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
Hari Om, thank you. Any thoughts, comments?
Hello, Srini. Firstly, thank you for the session.
Hi Kushagra, missed you for a couple of satsang. Right?
Yes. A lot of travel was going on my end, but hopefully now settled in Bangalore.
Nice.
So, I wanted to talk about that marathon and Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So I don't know whether that is Samadhi or not, but eventually that does happen. According to my head, it was a state of trance that, you don't see anything around you. All you see is the goal, the finish line. So definitely could relate to that. And second thing was on Viktor Frankl. There's a beautiful quote that he's mentioned in the same book, Man's Search for Meaning, which is, what is to give light must also endure the burning. So
Yes.
This is what motivates to run as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful quote. Yes. Yeah, that's true. See, what a trance is something which is temporary like anything else. A samadhi is something which is much more permanent in nature.
Absolutely. Undeniably.
There's actually a beautiful, few verses from the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan is talking about, how seeing the self in the self with the help of the mind, and how to be fulfilled with that. The 3 verses, 20, 21, beautiful, all 3 of them. Established in the infinite bliss, which is, you grasp with reason, but you transcend the senses. It is a beautiful dichotomy, for most of us, it's a dichotomy, but it's not really. And then he says, having experienced the pure consciousness, nothing is greater than that, and remains unshaken by that truth. It's really beautiful. And then later on he says, let go of that also.
Yes, absolutely. This triggers actually a question in my head. Please help me with this. That a lot of literature, whatever I read, focuses around the fact that the actual learning in life is experiential learning. But like in relation to Bhagavad, I would like your insight here. But then in philosophy, they say one is a Shravan Pramana and one is a Pratyaksha Pramana. So Shravan is what you hear from the people who have treaded that path. So then if we were to follow the Shravan Pramana, then what is the relevance of experiential learning in our life?
Absolutely. In fact, earlier I remember in one of the satsang, I used the example of Mount Everest. You know, we have heard that the Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. But when I go to the trek in the Himalayas and I'm standing on top of a mountain, you know, and we were in the peak of Kedarkanta, that appeared to be the tallest. So, so yes, see, ultimately it is aparoksha jnana, or the what is the term that you used, which I have not come much across, pratyaksha pramana, right? Shravan pramana and pratyaksha pramana. So the experiential learning is when you get that sense of eureka. That is experiential learning. That comes from within. So for example, ultimately what is it, if you go through this today's satsang, the verses that we covered today, ultimately what is Bhagavan saying? We have to get into that Niruddha state to get in touch. Get in touch. I'm not saying, because Bhagavan says don't experience that also, just let it be. Just be in the presence of that pure consciousness. For that, what Shravan will help? Shravan will be a distraction, no? So for us, ultimately it is the experiential learning, which is what each one of us has to get. But all the other forms are stepping stones to get there. They help. They are scaffoldings. They provide the support. But ultimately, you have to get into the experience. You have to experience that true nature. Each one of us has to do it by ourselves.
Yeah, just maybe something very lame here, but then is it dependent on age? Because like there's a perfect example that a mother says to the child that don't touch the pressure cooker, you'll burn your hand, but the kid yet touches it. So then the mother scolds that why are you touching the pressure cooker? I told it's hot.
At the same time, there are child, that's why we have the philosophy of janmas, right? Punar janma. And Bhagavan says, actually in the Bhagavad Gita, later on, Bhagavan will say that the learning through the spiritual, following the spiritual path, the learning that you accumulate, if your life gets cut short for whatever reason, do not worry. When you come back, you will come back with whatever you have learned already. You continue is what Bhagavan, he actually says that. Later on we'll cover it. Okay. So there are children who know more. There are these prodigies. There are these young, small children who seem to know more than the adults. So it's a continuum. It's the spiritual journey is a continuum. It's the journey of the soul. It's not the journey of the body, mind, and intellect.
Yes, definitely makes sense. Thank you, Srini.
Any other thoughts?
Hi, Srini. I did join late, so I missed in between. My net connection was not good, so I did miss a lot of things in between. But yes, whatever I could follow. I have a question based on that, and that is, you was talking about achieving the state of single thought, right? And also you spoke about some techniques to kind of attain that. Now, my question is, shouldn't this path of achieving a state of single thought be effortless? Because if we start following techniques, aren't we actually deviating? I mean, we are actually making an effort to reach there. So isn't this something that should just come naturally to oneself?
Right. So we talked about Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Okay. Up to the point of Savikalpa Samadhi, which is funneling the multiple thought to a single thought, that requires effort. Without that, it cannot happen. Without the effort, it cannot happen. It doesn't happen on your own. You just can't sit in meditation. That's why Bhagavan doesn't say meditate. That's how I started today. Yeah, you did come a little late, I think, at that. Maybe that part you missed. So Bhagavan doesn't say, please meditate. He goes through a step-by-step process manual. I would request you to go through the notes when I send it. Not just this satsang, the previous two also. He actually lists out, exactly like today we discussed about how we go to sleep. There's a pakka process manual for us to go to sleep also, right? So till that state of Savikalpa Samadhi, you need to put in the effort. Without the effort, it will not happen. Simply because there are so many things that are out there to take the mind away into that wandering zone. So naturally, the mind is tuned to wandering. We have to tune it back into single thought. And then the fine tuning automatically happens. There, maybe you missed that portion also. From Savikalpa Samadhi to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, kuch mat karo, apne aap hota hai. Single thought to no thought happens on its own. But multiple thoughts to single thought does not happen on its own. One has to put in the effort for that. And in fact, there are so many, you must be knowing so many more various techniques. Here in Bhagavad Gita, I am just, by the way, I am not saying this. You said I gave, no, this is Bhagavan Sri Krishna's techniques. I'm just like a parrot repeating what is there in the, that's one good thing about, the Bhagavad Gita. It is a documented book for centuries. So this is what Bhagavan Sri Krishna has told Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us.
Thank you.
Okay, if nothing else, I think it's 5:30. We can say Hari Om and meet next week. Thank you all. Hari Om. See you next Saturday.